My name's Nick Whitaker. I'm a teacher at Manchester Met University.
As mobile phones are made it easy to control different aspects from your phone, how would it feel to control your household devices? So we asked Nick for an answer.
I've been developing mobile phone applications for several years on Android and iPhone platforms, and a couple of years ago we got involved with some artists who wanted to interact with their environment using sensors. They wanted to pick up things like light and heat and movement and things, and then reflect that into some sort of video installation. So I got sort of quite into the idea of interacting with sensors, and that led me into a general Internet of Things type environment for controlling your environment with sensors, motors, lights, etc., and the whole sort of smart home type setup. And that's currently where I'm sort of working in, is developing smart home environments and the problems and solutions that come with that.
With advanced coding used to create the applications, we asked the students how it all works.
The first prototype that we developed was in Java language, in Android's native language of Java. Now, this gave us a couple of problems during development. The first problem was that it would only limit the app on running the specific operating system and not on any other one. The second problem was that the UI development gave us a lot of issues. Eclipse, it was very limited in what user interface objects it offered. Therefore, the original app that was developed looked very crude.
How would a smart home device control your heating, and how would it work from your mobile phone?
The heating system and things are put out by several manufacturers, such as British Gas are putting out their Hive system, Honeywell are putting out their Evo Home system, Google have released their Nest based environmental controls. The one we are particularly working with, Evo Home from Honeywell, enables you to control individual radiators from phone apps or from a web page or from a dedicated tablet to doing it. And then we've got some similar things for lighting control around the house, where you can take individual lights, in this case from Philips. They do a hue system, and these bulbs allow you to set the colour of the bulb, the brightness of the bulb, and again sort of remote control from either a phone app or computer. And then we're looking to link these into your environment, so to take your sensors, detect alternative aspects rather than just off your phone, things like movement or whatever, and then either sort of turn lights on or turn your heating on based on sensors or your location.
Nick generously examined a little demo that changed the colour to pink in his kitchen, controlled from his mobile phone. So what about the Nest heating? How is that, would that work in terms of advantages?
What the Nest one does is, yes, it's like a sort of centralised thermostat in many ways, and it can just work like a normal thermostat and turn heating on or off. But if you like, one of the clever things is that it's got some artificial intelligence built into it, so that as you move around the house or turn things on at certain times of day, it starts to remember what you've done and then try to predict what your likely actions are going to be. A bit like the sort of things that we see with Amazon, where it recommends things based on your previous purchases. It can recommend a certain sort of heating scheme based on what you've done in the past. Plus as well, these systems offer remote control to the device, whether it's from your phone or a sort of web application. And they start to, if they're designed well, they can also link in with other people's technology to not just control you, say, heating, but control the lighting system around the house or locking mechanisms. The Google Watch that we've been working with has got an Android environment built onto it, And we did progress quite well with developing things. It's not necessarily seen as a control device in its own right, because it's more of an addition to a phone. It's sort of enhancing a phone usage, because the actual display on it being so small, it's only sort of 2 centimetres by 4 centimetres by 4 centimetres, so not too sort of big a screen. But it's fine for doing sort of simple controls like switches going on and off, dials perhaps sort of being turned, and it's just a sort of an alternative interface rather than digging your phone out of your pocket and using that and flicking down through applications to get to what you want. It's sort of immediately there on it. It's got other things built into it, such as a camera to be able to pick up obviously sort of pictures there of the outside world. It can link into your phone for delivering phone messages or text across the screen. So we're looking at writing our own applications, again, to sort of control your environment through sensor data being sent to it, such as sort of telling you when somebody's inside your house. It might sort of vibrate or something like that as an alarm.
Google has developed many smart devices. How has the Google Glass played a sufficient role into this?
Yeah, we're looking to control our environment with it receiving information from sensors onto the glass to be able to display on a sort of tiny screen in front of you, and also to be able to control them, to control devices like opening up doors or activating motors and lights through either a spoken interface that the glass will pick up or the swipe interface that it has.
How are your students getting on with all this coding around the devices?
Our students are sort of great. We tend to work with software development students or software engineering students. They're quite excited by the idea of working both with new technology and also the idea of having sort of control over real life aspects. And it gives them a chance to write some software that actually has a real-time effect on things in the sort of outside world. And so we get a lot of good software ideas coming out of them to develop these things. And it helps when the manufacturers supply software libraries to help us interact with them. Some hardware manufacturers are quite good at that, and some are trying to keep it fairly proprietary driven, and we find it a bit harder to work with those. But we are developing sort of smart home environments and both working alongside the sort of things that are currently out there, like the Nest ones, and also sort of building our own enhancements to that sort of environment.
With all these devices, how is it looking in the future in terms of sustainability?
In terms of sustainability, I mean, there's a variety of things you can sort of talk about there. Certainly, it can help you with general sort of management of power usage around the house. If you can have a tighter control over, say, in sort of Northern Europe, having tighter control over your heating places. Heating does not necessarily form a part of every sort of country's one. But if you can individually control rooms rather than just saying, right, turn the whole house on whenever, if you could tie your heating into the ambient temperature that's outside, or perhaps the location of where you are, so the heating's only on when you're within the right sort of range of it, or if it can learn your habits as you move about the house to recognise which rooms you're often in at certain times of day, and it can predict to only heat them at that sort of idea. It can hone the environment to just your specific usage of it, rather than a flat sort of, it will come on at 6 in the evening and go off at 11 in the evening. You can sort of more tightly control how and when it's turned on. And that obviously means that you're then using less power to sort of turn these sort of things up. With the lighting systems as well, most lights are now going over to LED lights, which are obviously sort of using a little less power. And the same thing to an extent can use, the same arguments can hold that you did for the heating ones, in that you only need to light up the rooms that you actually sort of in or commonly use, or it can provide a sort of welcome environment when you get home, rather than sort of a dark house when you're sort of approaching it. But also just for pure entertainment as well. We can tie them into sound systems and have sort of a bit like you have sound surround for sort of videos that you're watching. You can have lights around as well to sort of tie in with it. It's just another aspect of enjoyment that you can get out of these things and making your lifestyle a bit better.
After Nick mentioned these devices can be used as enjoyment in the future, we can see how advanced the technology is today. But in the future, how could we see technology take complete control?